Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for having me, first of all, and secondly, offering me such a unique and very special chance and occasion for me to be in this precious place, and in a place which has offered history of the developments of our civilization. And Mr. President of Oxford Union, an honorable member of committee, as I said, it's a very special moment staying in front of you and talking a little bit about different issues that I would like to share as a politician, and even as a head of state that I had the chance to execute for 5 years in my country. And in fact, Mr. President, I have prepared something to address, but I know that it's much better for audience and for everybody to have more time for Q&R about different interests and topics that you are interested to know about my country or the region from I come from, or different challenges that European area, our continent, is facing, and challenges on global level. But very briefly, I would like to address something that I prepared, and after that, absolutely, I'll be open to hear and to answer your questions. I choose two topics to share with you tonight. First, I would like to share with you what's going to happen in the region that I come from, which is the Western Balkan, because it's an important region, because of history, because it's a real part of European area, and it's a region which is so vibrant in different point of views. I'll start a little bit focusing on historical developments in this region, for being more, informed on this conversation. The Balkan region has been considered or called in previous time, but for a long time, as a powder keg of the Europe. It was a metaphor. But this metaphor was often used since 1914. And it became the spark that ignited the First World War. And this war started from this region. Later on, during the Second World War, it became a real war arena. But also during the Cold War, because of its strategic location, and continue to be considered such. The fall of the Berlin Wall at the end of 1989 ended the Cold War, followed and accompanied with the disintegration of the former Soviet Union as ex-Czech Yugoslavia, but also even the former Yugoslavia. The disintegration of the former Soviet Union took place partly in a peaceful manner during this time, while that of Czechoslovakia, which was a very symbol of disintegration of the part of eastern side of Europe, was completely peaceful. But this cannot be said about the non-consensual one of the former Yugoslavia, which is, let's say, the focus point of the Balkans at that time. The disintegration of the former Yugoslavia was accompanied by armed, ethnic and religious conflicts. War starts from Serbia, initially with Bosnia-Herzegovina, with Croatia, and continue with Kosovo later on. But after a while, NATO intervention and strikes brought a kind of new situation, addressing the peace and stability after the war in this region. But these conflicts in this area left profound marks in the relations among states and the people of the region. The consequences of these wars have not yet been completely dissipated. But thanks to a serious international engagement, especially those who came from United States, from European Union, the region today, which was a region of wars, is much more calm and safe. And I can say that this powder of cake, which considered in the future, nowadays, thanks to this reality, is considering as a region of chances, as a region of possibilities, as a region of opportunities. My country, Albania, which was the only one which was not part of former Yugoslavia, has supported continuously the progress and the peace and good neighboring relations, promoting the dialogue and good understanding, and especially and above all, the reconciliation among the people and among the nations, which a decade ago were involved in very hard and terrible wars with each other. It's not easy. It's not easy, even because this region is a real part, geographically, of the European area, even mentally, even in sense of the culture. But as I said, the past now seems very seriously to be considered as a real lesson and inspiration for addressing our commitments and our services and our culture, focusing on a common future. A common future which sounds very nice, but we are aware, not easy to approach. My country has supported significantly lots of regional initiatives because the countries in this region share lots of similarities and differences. Differences in the history, differences in the languages, differences in the culture, in the customs. But we had very difficult experiences from the past. And considering this as a lost time, lost opportunities, lost of possibilities, nowadays I'm happy as a citizens above all of this area, of this region, as a good opportunity and as a good possibility for all countries and nations and the people of this region to be oriented towards reconciliation, cooperation, and common development. There are lots of challenges nowadays in this region. If we see the situation in one of the very interesting places in the country, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, there are lots of troubles there. In Macedonia, we have turmoils, we have some crashes among the political parties, and above all, we face with some dangerous situation to convert the political battle and clashes among the political parties to the ethnic differences or ethnic clashes. And so in that reality, we do believe that it's time for more responsibility and more accountability among different actors of societies. Of course, the decision makers in front line are politicians, because this is our system that we have chosen. But every day, everybody is understanding that all actors and operators of a society are very much important. And the voice of civil society, the contribution of the media, or the academics, and above all, new generation, is increasing every day. And I do consider this possibility as a good chance that the new generation are more and more motivated to be committed in their education, but in the same time in the developments of the country, society, continents, and globally. And I would like to absolutely to underline in this auditorium how much important is for the future of our society, for the future of our countries, for the future of our earth, the feeling of responsibility and engaged and commitment of the new generation, which of course we have to support. Firstly, their education and being prepared as a future decision makers for entire society, for different things in economy, in politics, in culture, in science, and everything that societies and the people all around the world are not just only interested, but they are committed and they are in the middle of these developments. Life in general represents nowadays in economy, in communication, which have been global, and tendency is for this globalization to affect all the aspects of our lives, lots of challenges. And in fact, I do believe that it's extremely important how we do consider these challenges and how we do consider the sense of common commitments and common face towards these challenges. Because we are experiencing strong economic turbulences, much larger than the previously experienced crisis, climate changes, conflicts, local and ethnic and religious wars in different places. Regional implications are serious. All those challenges are directly affected our security. And if they are affected our security, they absolutely have a direct impact in our possibilities for development and preserving and enriching our civilization. So, in this sense of discussion, I do believe that education first and feeling and taking responsibilities by the new generation and sharing this responsibility and delivering accountability, especially from the new generation, will be a kind of pressure, positive pressure, to all the other actors among different societies for better orientation and for taking more responsibilities. Another topic, the second one, which I want to share with you, is the overall situation of peace and security, particularly threatened by religion-based terrorism and violent extremism, as well as the contribution of my country in this regard. I'll not take your time to bring here such a terrible, sometimes barbarian experiences and a very difficult situation that we are facing nowadays in different corners of the world because of terrorism, because of the hate, and so on. But let me, to be very concrete and bringing such simple, modest, and simple experiences from my country, which is not a big country, but very with very rich history. And in fact, in our country, we have virtue and a kind of principle which is a kind of legacy, and we try to enrich nowadays, even to deliver to coming generations, which is based on a word in our language sounds like that, besa. Besa, it's a word in our language, which means promise, the word of honor. This word and this tradition create a kind of legacy in welcoming, respecting the others. In our society, in our country, and among our people, we say a sentence: the house of the Albanian people belong to the God and to the guest. It's a very original one and traditional one and very old one, which means that you have to offer your respect, your welcome, and opportunities, of course, to the God which orient and help and create possibility for everybody, but even to the guest. Because if you have somebody in your house and welcome somebody in your house, besides the differences, you have to respect and to offer everything that this guest feel comfortable and safe and secure and normal, enjoy the life in your house, in your family. When 2 years ago, the Pope Francis visited Albania, and I had an extraordinary meeting with the Pope, His Holiness, and it was the very first visit that the Pope Francis paid abroad in a European country, and he chose Albania. sometimes people that time send it even some messages. Why the Pope chose Albania as a first country to visit? A small country with very modest contribution in international arena. And in fact, he chose Albania and his messages delivered based on harmony, coexistence, and respect among different religions. Because in terms of faith and religion, Albania is a multi-religion country. There are different religions and communities in terms of faith and religion. And the coexistence and respect to each other is very unique. In Albania, we have a Muslim majority community in terms of faith. We have Orthodox community, we have Roman Catholics, we have Jewish community. But since the Second World War, Albania, which was considered even at the time as a country in terms of religion with a Muslim majority, was the only country where the number of Jewish people in the end of Second World War was doubled, increased, comparing with beginning of the Second World War. And it was not a single case that Albanian family handed over the Jewish people to the Nazis. It was a very unique one. And the families, doesn't matter in which religion they belong to, Muslim or Catholics, Orthodox or others, welcome the Jewish families who escaped the Nazis from the other European countries, welcome them in their houses, in their families, offering them not just the shelter, but even the warm hospitality and opportunity to live together in the same roof. So that was very good message that we got and we'd like to promote, especially nowadays when the terrorism and the hate because of the extremism based on religion is tried to spread all around the world. And I do believe that we have lots of good examples around the world. And through the good examples, we have to face such challenges for bringing this, not only the history and experiences, but even their realities in front of our new generation, educating them and providing them the real life and real examples from the past, but even from the nowadays. Maybe I can refer lots of to this lecture that my cabinet prepared, Mr. President, but I do believe that maybe my chance and the situation in this room will be much better, even for me as an experience, to have time for question and answer Q&Rs, because maybe I'll be more efficient to enjoy your curiosity, your ideas, and to share the views about everything that you would like to know about my country, position of Albania on the relations with the United Kingdom, with Great Britain, or in framework of turbulences in the European area, or different challenges which are now present in global scale, in politics or economy. And I do not pretend to be as your lecture and your academics offer to you every day, but just another curiosity. When I finished my studies, and my first graduation had been, as I mentioned to the President, has been on military academy and later on for law, I started my career as a lecturer in the military academy. And I was very young at the time, and I was just 22 and students were 20. But I had my best experience, which encouraged me and prepared me on lots of dimension and encouraged me, and it was a very unique experience. So please permit me to offer the time to everybody to raise the question or to address comments or anything that you like to know about my country or commitments and views nowadays.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Would you like to take a seat, or would you prefer to stand behind the lectern?
I feel better here.
Okay, wonderful. Well, if you would like to ask the President a question, as he's very generously offered, please do raise your hand. If you're selected, please wait for the microphone to reach you before giving your remarks. So, okay, yeah, please. If you go ahead. So just.
Thank you for your comments. My question regards one of the international institutions of European peace, the Eurovision Song Contest, which we just enjoyed last week.
Good.
Wondering when Albania will seize the day and win it eventually. When is Albania's time to shine?
In which menu?
Like what year will be the year for Albania to win the contest?
To hand the Portugal was the winner. This year. In fact, maybe I'll answer through information. Albania is a European country, as I mentioned. And we have lots of events in this field. But Albania is very unique on the folk. And the folk, it's divided in two kinds. The folk which present the north of the country, which is different from the south of the country. And in the south of the country, we have a very unique musician when the people sing without instrument. But nowadays, this is part of protection of UNESCO, and it calls polyphonia. So I was afraid times ago that maybe the new generation will start to ignore this tradition, which in fact has been more conservative in the past, because nowadays we have such European contest and lots of modern music, and technology helps a lot about that. But in the last Eurovision, Albania performed not very good, but not very bad. And it was interesting because she was a singer which came from Kosovo. Because Kosovo, it's another country, but populated by 96% of Albanian people. And another story that I would like to share with you is the story of a kind of freedom, dimension of freedom. Because Kosovo, it's a small country, it's a new state, independent one, recognized by 114 different world countries, but is the only one that the people of this country have not the chance to travel abroad, because they have to not only need for the visa, but even to recognize the passport of this country. And this lady, which won the place to represent Albania, because she came to Albania and was part of Albanian contest in the musician, had no possibility to go in this Eurovision contest. And in fact, they had only one chance, to hand over the Albanian passport. But this is the right that head of state may offer to the such possibilities and such events. And in fact, they came to me and the team and asked me to provide the citizenship and to hand over the passport. And I told, I love very much, but I have to see the law. And in fact, she lost lots of time for adopting the law in Parliament and the others. So we took such a challenges and long journey just to create a possibility for this young lady with emotion and potentials to go and just to represent the artists and to represent the art. So your question is excellent one, because through such simple example we might understand that how deep is our responsibility and our interaction and interconnection around the world and around the civilization. So, but you started with art and the culture. Yes, I trust very much that art and the culture mean civilization, and it's the best mechanism to connect the people and to create possibility that people to understand better each other. And if we understand better each other, we can avoid lots of dangers and threats which are always around us. President, you decide.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's go on to your right-hand side, please, Shivani, the lady over there.
Përshëndetje. Mirë se erdhët dhe faleminderit për fjalët tuaja. I had a question. You talked a lot about students and the new generation and their involvement in education and how you thought that would help our country advance. But my question is regarding the difficulties that the new generation faces from the legacy of corruption in education. And I don't mean corruption, just monetary corruption, but I also mean corruption in terms of difficulties with women's rights and sexism, for example, in education, in Albanian culture, but also Albanian education. So my question is, what do you make of that, right? Because there is such a legacy of corruption, especially for these young kids who usually leave schools in Albania to study somewhere else, right? A lot of them want to leave. They don't want to study in Albania, right? So what do you make of that, and how do you deal with that, really?
Yeah. Thank you very much. So very clear for everybody why you know such better the situation in Albania.
Well, yeah, I'm Albanian,
yeah.
obviously.
My parents, both of them were teachers, and I grew up in a family with father and mother, both of them teachers. And I grew up to see how they were not so much supporting their children, including me and my brothers, for education. And it was the same that I saw to all the Albanian families, because they love very much to educate them, their children, and to prepare their children for their life. As I mentioned, I started my public career as a lecturer in a military academy, and later on in Tirana University. And I know very well how much important is for the young generation the opportunity to have access in education. In our country nowadays is undergoing a big debate about the higher education. I prefer that the last decision to be taken by students and academics. It's my view. Because they know better than everybody else, not how much important is the education, but how we can build in qualitative way. In Albania, we do have public universities and we have private universities. And it's a kind of competition between private universities and public universities. Personally, I am in favor for offering opportunities to everybody. But that is the first step. And second one is that we have to care a lot about the quality of our schools, our universities, our education. Because if we just offer possibilities and we do not care that these possibilities to develop in proper way, we have done nothing, or worse, can damage the future and the education of our new generation. So absolutely I'm in favor that, because I think it's much better for a student or young people to spend a day at the university than in a coffee shop. So we are working hard in our country to get this balance and this equilibrium between the opportunity and possibility and the quality, which is not easy, but it's part of so-called responsibility of entire society. So this debate is still undergoing in our country, and I do believe that since the moment that students and academics together mixing their will, desire, and responsibility and experiences will be the majority part of decision-making process, that time we will start the best track and the best way in the education. So I'm very optimistic for the future. Several times I have organized in my office meeting with the students and the lecturers and the academics discussing the situation. I have been a public voice of their ideas, which I consider very, very good and interesting one, because they like very much to care about the quality of education, which is absolutely essential for the future.
Faleminderit.
Great. Let's go to the hand at the back there.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for the speech. When considering the Albanian application to the European Union, they said they wanted to see more evidence of free and fair elections. For the elections coming up in June this year, what have you and your government done to ensure that these elections will be free and fair?
Thank you. First, let me to address a little bit about the European integration, which is so debated issues, not just in our continent, but even beyond. Albania is a member of NATO, which is a great achievement in our evaluation and judgment, because Albania has paid a lot in the past because of lack of security in our history. But we do not consider NATO only as an alliance in military term, but even as a family, a democratic family, which address and deliver democracy and in the same time the standards of respecting the criteria of freedom and protecting civilization in different cases. Albania is not member of European Union. We have status of candidate country. And in fact, the European integration has been, and still it is, supported by a strong majority. More than 95% of Albanian citizens support the European integration for Albania. It sounds a little bit strange nowadays when we are facing such different views among different European countries. But I would like to clarify something, which is even my view and my belief. We are very much interested and committed on the process, because we do consider the process as the best mechanism for our country and our society to approach the standards that EU member states, societies and citizens enjoy nowadays in terms of freedom, in terms of democracy, in terms of institution functioning, in terms of developments, in terms of, culture of association. Considering all those things as extremely important for a civilization and a mature society, we are focused very much and we fully support the process. We are aware and we are cautious that Albania will not be very soon a member of European Union for a number of reasons. First, we have to approach such standards. Secondly, because of the situation among the European countries and different views among the European countries about the accession, about the architecture that European Union present nowadays. But we still believe on that, because we believe on the example of civilization, and we do believe that European area, European continent, represent the best example of civilization and the culture around the world. And the European area and European countries have offered their sacrifices to preserve and to enrich not just the history, but even the civilization and the culture. We do not believe that we are going to be very soon a member, a fledged member, but we ask and we support and we please the other EU member states to keep this process alive, not only for my country, but for all the countries in the Balkans. Because I brought in my beginning our very bad experience just 1 or 2 decades ago, when such countries and people very close to European area were in wars and in sometimes in genocides acts to each other. So keeping alive this process as the best mechanism to assist and to help societies in all countries of this region, I do believe that it's a contribution for having even those countries and the people and the nations in this region very close to the culture of other European countries, to the civilization of other European countries, to the possibilities for economic and prosperity like the other European countries. But it's a big debate nowadays about the security of European citizens. Or let's say it's a big debate about the migration. We do believe that the migration, it's a kind of medal or coin with 2 sides. In one side, we must help and assist people in need. This is tradition, as I mentioned, in my country. But this is a world tradition. And the people who are threatened, suffering by such a terrible situation like in Syria or other war places, or different countries which are suffering in a terrible way. And the people who just emigrate to escape the war or to save the life of the children, they absolutely must be relieved and must be saved and must be assisted. It's a human responsibility. This is maybe the basic foundation for the dimension of humanity. And we cannot escape. Our generation nowadays cannot escape from this dimension and responsibility. But the other side of the coin is that we have to care that the danger individuals and the people, like terrorists, which exist, not to misuse this opportunity, this possibility for helping the people in need and penetrating among the people who are in need, and to come and to put in danger the citizens of different countries. Because everybody of us, and everybody, each simple citizen, doesn't matter where she or he lives, deserve a peaceful, a secure and safe place. So, in one hand, we have to care a lot about the people in need. In other hand, we have to care about our security, our common security, about the safety of our citizens, our children, our people. And I do believe that, yes, we can deal with both of these dimensions because we have experiences, we have mechanisms, and we demonstrate the will, but we cannot be successful if we just focus only in one side, just to say we have to stop, we must stop. We cannot build our future building the walls and to separate each other, because the isolation it's not the success story in our civilization, in our world. So we do have potentials, we do have possibilities, and in fact, I do believe that majority of the citizens here in United Kingdom, in Great Britain, in Europe, and everywhere around the world, absolutely they appreciate and they protect the humanity and the values of civilization. But in other side, they deserve to be protected and to be respected. Dealing with political situation in Albania, yes, we are preparing for upcoming elections. I'm very comfortable situation. As a president, I'm away from the political parties, but I'm following very carefully because it's not a quiet situation. It's not a quiet situation. The opposition has raised some concerns and is threatening that it's not going to take part on elections because their question is very simple, but to me it's right. The opposition is pretending to create more normal environment and situation that all citizens in Albania to go and to freely cast their vote for everybody that they would like to vote for. They have some pretense that the people with criminal records are committed in campaigning, in political, some political parties, and represented some threats from the other sides, which is a concern that we have to face. And I have supported this question of the opposition, but in other side, I'm working even with government to provide through the mechanisms, law enforcement agencies and the others, to create such environment that everybody to feel secure, to feel not threatened, to feel freely to go and to vote in voting days. I'm optimistic that a deal is going to be reached in coming days, and because now Albania, as I said, is a democracy and is a country which we have to work for strengthening our democracy and our institution and being more mature in our democracy. But we have to fight every day for our freedom. We have to invest every day for our democracy. We have to stand every day for our rights and for the standards that I mentioned when I talked about the European integration process, for the process itself as a mechanism. So that's my deep belief and view. And thank you very much for raising this question.
Okay, let's go to the hand at the very end of the row over there.
Hello, thank you for coming. With regards to integration, two questions. One, do you believe, as being a post-Soviet state, that this currently plays a role, if there's a lingering tension in, modern-day integration into what a current Europe is today, as well as if you could speak upon kind of Albania's relationship to the United Nations and how specific kind of roles and in relationships with other countries, such as Switzerland, kind of plays a role and perhaps helps your country to integrate?
Okay, thank you so much for your question. I believe on the integration process. I still strongly believe, because I believe on our common future. And if we believe in common future, because we believe on being successful on common face to the common challenges that we have nowadays, we have to be acting in collective way and being integrating to each other. I do believe that it's going to be the best mechanism for have a successful story in this journey for all together. Of course, some countries are more powerful than the others, are more developed than the others, even within the European Union nowadays, because of the history, because of number of reasons. But if we refer the experience of United Nations that you mentioned, even the United Nations as international fora has passed through difficult challenges on decades, sometimes with failure, sometimes with success stories. Albania, as I said, small country, but we have had some real contribution in maybe two dimensions that even nowadays United Nations is racing or is committed strongly to. First one is the climate change. And Albania is a small country, of course, and we cannot have such a contribution like China or United States. But we have had in a first frontliner for accomplishing not just our responsibilities, but even offering some very good models in this process. In humanity, Albania has been always a country which has offered not only welcome but very good treatment for the people in need or the people who just pass through the road to different countries. And Albania has been always in same standards and conditions that United Nations has addressed to the country to practice to and to offer. Switzerland presents for us a very close partner. Personally, but even my country, have a great experience cooperating with Switzerland, especially on such field which is important nowadays for every country, such is the local democracy and local administration. I had the chance to work with Swiss authorities when I used to be Minister of Interior for several years. And as Minister of Interior, I had responsibility on developing the administration on the local level. And local administration remains extremely important because it is the best place to offer direct services to the citizens. And if you offer direct services to the citizens, you have to be well trained, you have to be full of will, and you have to be ready to offer such services to individuals and communities and different circumstances, including emergencies. So we had such joint programs, assistance and experiences from Switzerland, and in my country we profit a lot by the Swiss experience on preparing the local administration, training them, and offering the better services to the citizens, because the citizens are so close to the mayor, much more close than to the minister or to the central government. So that has been a great experience, and I have in my memory, and we have in our country such good example.
I think we have time for one more question. Yeah, if we go to the lady at the end of this row here. Thank you.
Përshëndetje. Edhe unë jam shqiptare, shumë faleminderit që keni ardhur këtu. So I'm also Albanian, like you guys could guess. I'm not sure how familiar most of this audience is with Albania, because usually when we hear about Albania in the media, it must be about something bad. So, I mean, somebody mentioned corruption. Yes, corruption happens in Albania, but corruption is not characteristic of Albania only. Corruption you have in America, in other countries. Yes, Albania is a poor country in Europe, but also this should not be discussed without a historical context, and the impact that Western countries have had since the London Conference in 1913 and other historical developments. So my question is regarding European integration and regarding the position of Albania in Europe. There's a vast scholarship on European integration that talks about policy transfer and European countries with European Commission setting their own agenda and transferring their policies in the third countries, not according to the interests of the third countries, but according to their own interest. So Albania is a very small country with, I'm guessing, not much of a bargaining power, and is very interested to join the European Union. So, as you mentioned, it's 96% of Albanian population is for the European joining the Union. So, in this kind of settings, as a president of Albania, how difficult has been for you to set your agenda according to Albanian priorities and like keep a balance between what is good for Albanian citizens and like the authority and power that European Union and other international institutions exert in Albania? I'm going too long with this, but like one question I had was regarding, for example, the readmission agreements. I mean, European Commission had a really hard time to sign those agreements with a lot of other countries, while Albanian bargaining power was not that much, and it was pretty much easy for them to get them signed from Albania. So how do you deal? Like,
I signed it when I used to be Minister of
Interior.
Interior.
Okay. That would be very useful for my dissertation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very nice to hear. First, about the news on the media. As a politician or as citizens who involved in politics many years ago, I have faced different situations in media, and I never thought that I would be a winner facing with media. Because sometimes, not sometimes, but many times, the bad news is the news. The good news is not the good news. But the media is extremely important on a democracy and in a civilization. besides the different situation which we can face sometimes. But absolutely, it's much better to talk even hardly about the corruption than not to talk at all. The corruption, it's a big issue, even in Albania, but everywhere, you're right. But in case of Albania, I have my idea, which I have presented publicly. And when I stated firstly my thought, the others, without waiting for my explanation, say, wow, you are not right. Because the corruption, it's a very, very dangerous threat for any society. Let me to start a little bit for explain what I would like to say about some potentials and possibilities in Albania. As I said, Albania is a small country, and we do not compare ourselves with Great Britain, with France, with Germany, with Spain, or other big countries. But comparing with other countries in our region, comparing with Macedonia, comparing with Montenegro, comparing with Bosnia-Herzegovina, comparing with Serbia, Albania is the only one which possess a very rich petroleum resources. And we export lots of petroleum resources. There is no petroleum resources in other countries in our region. It does exist only in Albanian land, first. Secondly, Albania, based on very serious European studies, is the richest country in the region dealing with water resources. Even some European studies rank Albanian right way after Norway, dealing with water resources. And our electricity is produced 90% by hydropower plants in the country. It's rich in minerals. The climate in Albania is much better than in Serbia, which is in our north, and much better than in Greece, which is in our south. It means that our agriculture productions reach the market earlier than the productions in other countries, which is an advantage in terms of business. The west side of the country, from the northwest to the southwest, is a cost. And we still have real problems with management of the resources. So, my thought that I raised was that corruption, it's a real problem, it's a big problem, but it's not the worst one. Because I believe strongly that if the will exists, it's absolutely possible to face and to challenge corruption successfully. Just the will to exist, but the real will. But which is the real problem is the lack of management skills. And I believe that if we will work, and maybe through such possibility, when the Albanian new generation come in such universities, such unions, and such environments, prepare themselves and back to the country and put themselves in the management processes of such resources, absolutely they will send the country far away in terms of developments, in terms of freedom, even producing much more effective mechanism to fight properly even the corruption, because the education brings even the culture to fight properly the corruption. It's a new culture, it's a new behavior, it's a new idea, it's a new civilization on this way. So that's my point that I raised on this field. About the relations or behavior, or let's say a kind of affiliation from Albania to European Union and vice versa. Absolutely, we do believe that this is a real one, it's not a forced one. And I would like to share with you that this orientation of Albania towards the European area or European culture, it's not a choice of politicians. It's a choice of people. The politician reacts based on this choice of the people. And there is no other alternative, because Albanian people are focused very much on this direction.
Right. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for this evening. But Mr. President, on behalf of all of our audience, please may I thank you for coming to share so many of your rich perspectives and experience.